Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals.
Alright, so today I'm going to be drinking Japanese hard cider for the first time. Will it be better than Strongbow? Will it be better than Stella Artosis? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out. Let me tell y'all what. What I've got with me today is the Green Neighbors Hard Cider Sour Fuji Version, which is a limited edition hard cider that was made by the Green Neighbors Hard Cidery, which is a craft cidery in Iwate Prefecture in Japan that was first started in 2017, but only just started releasing their own ciders a few years back. I don't know anything about this craft cidery, but what I do know is that this can cost me $7 USD, which is insanely expensive for a hard cider by American standards, and is insanely expensive for alcohol in general by Japanese standards. But I don't mind having paid that price, because Japanese-made hard cider is extremely hard to come by. Cider in general is super uncommon in Japan. And so as such, I'm just thankful I was able to find a Japanese-made hard cider in general, and I'm hoping that it will have been worth the $7 I paid for it, which is, as said, a lot of money by Japanese standards and by American standards, in all honesty. For the $7 I paid, I got 350 milliliters of hard cider with an ABV of 5.5%, and from what I've heard, this is considered to be a semi-dry cider. I hope it's going to be good. Let me tell y'all what, there's only one way to find out, and that is to actually try this stuff right here, which I will do after I cover the packaging and after I get it all opened up and smell it just a little bit more so than not. First off, as said, let's go ahead and cover the packaging of this cider much more quickly than not. We can see we get just raw can up here. There's no sort of design on the can itself up here, nor on the very top either. No sort of real designs until we hit the label in the center of the can. We can see it's a very nice sort of, I'd have to say, dark apple red, almost like a, Fuji apple, in my personal opinion, or maybe like a Fiji apple. Is it Fiji or Fuji? I can't remember, in all honesty, but this is more of a dark red apple color in my personal opinion. It's a very satisfying red to look at, if you ask me. All of the details on the red are made up of white, and we can see at the top right here, we get a little bit of an apple, and that apple has a bunch of faces on it and everything like that kind of thing. A cool little whimsical design right there, I will acknowledge. And right under there, it just says Green Neighbors Hard Cider, and of course, that's the name of the brand that made this cider right here. Then under that, we get some Japanese text right there, which honestly, I will acknowledge, I don't know what it says. And then under that, it just says Sour Fuji Version right there. And then under that, it just says in English, it has like their, I guess, like spiel, or their sort of marketing, sort of, what's the right way of putting it? It has their sort of marketing, sort of segmentation spiel and stuff like that, trying to let everybody know what the brand is about and what not. It just says in white text in English, we value abundant nature and a comfortable town to live in towards open-minded people, Green Neighbors. That's in parentheses. We will deliver a hard cider packed with a relaxing atmosphere on Sunday. Well, you know, I do like having a hard cider on a Sunday evening, I will acknowledge, and I do like relaxing while having a drink at any time, frankly put. So I'm hoping that this does deliver on what they're saying, I will acknowledge. Under this text right here, it just says 350 milliliters and an ABV of 5.5%. Just says made with 100% fruit right there, which is always good to know. And then on the other side, it just says hard apple cider right there. Then we just get some Japanese text right there, the barcode as well, along with a batch code and just how to throw away this can and whatnot. And on the other side, we get some more Japanese text right there. I don't know exactly what that says, I will acknowledge. It's got like their website and whatnot under my fingers as well. But that text just says something in Japanese. I don't know exactly what it says, but I think it's just talking about what this cider is. I should have probably translated that before this video. I did translate it when I initially bought this cider, I will acknowledge, but I don't remember what it says. So I think after this video, I'll have to take a photo of what that text right there says, and I'll have to put a little screenshot on screen so y'all can actually see what it says, just like right here and stuff like that kind of thing. But now that I have taken that screenshot down, as long as I remember to actually put it up, let's go and take a look at the other side with the barcode, and we can see this is pretty much just all informational, and if I remember correctly, this is just like Japanese government warning labels and just information and stuff like that as a whole. And that's pretty much all there is to the packaging. We can see we just get raw metal right there. The wrapper does not go all the way around, and the wrapper itself definitely is a bit too high in some places, but overall I think it's a pretty clean look and is definitely more of a craft brewery look than not, which is of course exactly what they're going for, I assume, at least. From what I've heard, the person who started the Green Neighbors Hard Cider is a person who used to be really big into like craft beer and stuff like that kind of thing, but wanted to have a different segmentation for their brand, and they didn't want to just make craft beer, which is apparently becoming very big in Japan, so they decided to diversify and do craft cider instead, which is much appreciated as somebody who likes hard cider, I will acknowledge. And so I think we can definitely tell, based on the fact that the person who made this brand used to be really big into craft beer, that they definitely have an idea as to what they want their brand to look like, what they want their brand image to be, and stuff like that kind of thing. Craft beer brands are really big on brand image, and they're really big on like, here's the vibe we want to give. And this dude, you can definitely tell, the guy who started this craft brewery, he's really got the vibe he wants to give, and he really wants that sort of calm, relaxing atmosphere. And I really do think that this packaging honestly does a good job of reflecting that. It's very open. There's a lot of dead space in the packaging in a good way, and it's not an overwhelming piece of packaging that makes you feel like you're drinking Strong Zero or something like that kind of thing. This certainly does not look like Strong Zero by any means, and it certainly is not designed to. Let's go ahead and just thought I had like a piece of lint or something on the lid or on the top of the can to say it correctly. On the lid of the can, cans don't have lid. What cans don't have lids. What am I saying? But now that I've gone ahead and covered the packaging, I do suppose without further ado, it is time for me to go ahead and get this can all opened up. And I do think it's time for me to go ahead and give this cider a little bit of a smell if I possibly can. So let's go ahead and give it a smell. And overall, yep, it smells like hard cider, I will acknowledge. A little bit of alcohol in there, a little bit of dryness. It's definitely a apple cider, you can definitely tell. Yeah, I'd have to say it smells very much that of a... It's got sort of a mixture between the smell of a, like, Jazz apple, a Granny Smith apple, and like a Fuji or Fiji apple. I can't remember which it is. Is it Fuji or Fiji? I can't remember. Those might be two different things, but it definitely smells good. There's sweetness to it, there's sourness to it, there's citrusiness to it. And overall, I'd have to say the smell is very much that of a sweet, fruity, appley, citrusy, sour, almost sort of Granny Smith apple, sour sort of smell with a little bit of Jazz apple making up the sweetness, and a different kind of apple that I don't know exactly what it is making up the in-betweens on both sides, I will acknowledge. Yeah, very nice, sweet, slightly semi-dry, semi-sour smell. And overall smells like a quality hard cider, I will acknowledge. No complaints on my behalf. I'm just gonna go ahead and refresh real quick with a little bit of sip of water. And then after that, I'm gonna go and take a sip of the cider for the first time. And find out just how it actually is. Without further ado, let's go ahead and take my first ever sip of Japanese hard cider, and let's find out just how this stuff actually is. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying. Woo! Whoa. Holy crap. That is the most sour hard cider I have ever had. Holy crap. That was so sour. I mean, like, I know it says sour on it. I was not expecting that much sourness. Holy crap, that is sour. Oh my God. Wow. That is like biting into a lemon head. Oh my God, that is so sour. Like 3 to 4 times more sour than Sour Patch Kids, which isn't even really that sour, I will acknowledge. That's like a warhead type of sourness. That is crazy sour. Oh. Whoa. I don't know if I can get used to that. Wow, that is sour. Well, oh man, that is like puckering type sour. Holy crap. Oh my God. That is crazy sour. And the sourness is just completely overwhelming everything. Like, there's definitely, like, I can tell there's some sweetness in there as well. And there's some other stuff going on, but that sourness is just so overwhelming. I can barely tell what else is going on. That is the most sour hard cider I have ever had. That's wild. It's very unique, I'll give it that. It's extremely unique. You can definitely tell this is not meant to be a mass market hard cider. As much as many craft breweries want to go mass market, many of them do offer products that appeal to a very niche market. And this is definitely one of those products that will very much appeal more to a niche market. Now, I'm sure the Green Neighbors Cidery, I'm sure that they offer ciders that are more meant for the mass market, that are a lot less sour than the one I'm drinking, and are much more sweet, I will acknowledge. But this one is very sour. It's carbonated as well, of course, as hard cider generally is. But the carbonation, it's very small carbonation. It's not super intense carbonation by any means. It's like a lot of the hard cider I've tried, it's got slightly bigger bubbles, like not as big as like Sprite or something like that kind of thing, but the carbonation, the bubbles in it are not like tiny. They're like somewhat large, and the carbonation is not like overwhelming. The carbonation in this, it's not overwhelming, and I'd have to say it's about at the same level as most hard ciders I've tried, but the bubbles are so small that while there is the same amount of carbonation, there's just that many more small bubbles, making it taste so much more overwhelmingly sour, because all the sourness is coming from the carbonation. Wow. That is like a Granny Smith apple on steroids. Holy crap. Holy crap, Lois. That is like a Granny Smith apple on steroids. Wow. That is, this is without a doubt the most sour hard cider I have ever had. No question. The most sour hard cider I have ever had. If you like sour drinks or sour food, this is for you. This is for you. I'll acknowledge, I'm not really one for like super sweet hard ciders. I personally prefer more of a semi-dry. And I don't mind a little bit of sourness, but this is just way too much for me. It's way too much for me. I don't know if I would buy another one of these just because of how sour it is. But that doesn't mean I mind drinking it, and I don't mind drinking it. The reason why I wouldn't buy one of these again isn't because it's bad, it's just because the taste is way too much for me, I'll acknowledge. But in reality, this is a pretty solid cider. I actually quite like it, and I really like the fact that it is so unique. It tastes so different from many other ciders I've had. Like, I've tried some craft ciders from places in the United States, and I'm just gonna sit like this for a minute. I've tried some craft ciders from places in the United States and stuff, and most of them are definitely different and more unique than something mass market, like let's say a Strongbow or a Stella Artosis or an Angry Orchard or something like that kind of thing. Those are very mass market ciders that are meant to appeal to a very wide demographic, and they do a very good job of doing that. A lot of the craft ciders I've tried in the United States, they are unique and they have some sort of gimmick about them. This definitely is unique and has a gimmick about it. It's just insanely sour. But it is without a doubt one of the, even though it's so sour, it is one of the cleanest tasting craft ciders I've ever had. So a lot of the craft ciders I've tried in the past have been like, I drink it and I'm like, yeah, I don't mind it, like it's all right. Like there is an exception to this. There's one cidery, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I really like their cider. In fact, they make my favorite cider of all time. But a lot of the craft ciders I've tried is just one of those things where I'm pretty on it generally, not because it's like a genuinely bad product, but because I'm paying more for a craft cider, and it's just like, it's just not as clean tasting as like some mass market ciders, which is pretty like, it's like they're like Angry Orchard quality when they're priced higher than Stella Artois or Strongbow kind of thing. Which is not very good in my personal opinion. This, on the other hand, is definitely, in my opinion, higher quality than Angry Orchard, without a doubt. This cider that I'm drinking right now, higher quality than Angry Orchard, no questions asked. I would actually have to say it's higher quality than probably Stella Artois and Strongbow as well. I would say it is. I would say it is higher quality than Stella Artois and Strongbow. But it definitely doesn't appeal to me in the same way. It's so sour. It's so sour. But I really genuinely would not mind trying another cider from this cidery in the future. As long as that cider was, I'll acknowledge, a little bit less sour. Like a semi-dry, I do like my semi-dries. And this, I would not even really call this a semi-dry. This is more like a sweet cider, but because there's like maybe a little bit of dryness to it, but like it's not a lot. But it's just so sour that it's crazy. Like literally, it's puckering type sour. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's literally like a Granny Smith on steroids, without a doubt. It's crazy level of sour. I like it though. It's not something I buy again, but it is a quality cider, and I'm really not minding drinking it, frankly. But I'm really not. My first initial impression of Japanese hard cider is positive. My first initial impression, of course, I'm sure there's other craft cideries in Japan, and I'm only trying one cider from one craft cidery. I don't think like Asahi or Suntory is making any cider right now. I could be wrong, they might be, but I haven't heard that they are. But my first initial impression of a Japanese-made hard cider is quite positive. It's that the cider is high quality, unique tasting, and while the taste itself might not be exactly to my personal preference, it's definitely unique and not bad at all. High quality, without a doubt. That's my impression. I have an overall better impression than not of Japanese hard cider based off this one experience, at least. It's hard to describe the flavor of the cider though, because it is just that strong, though, I will acknowledge. All right, sour, strong sourness wise is what I meant. Wow. Oh, holy crap. That is so sour. Yeah, I see why it's limited edition. I do. Limited edition stuff, generally done as a way to test out whether something works or not. And, I could say, I think this one's probably going to stay as a limited edition. It's way too sour for me. And I assume it's probably way too sour for most people. I like my sour stuff. Like, I like the original 9% strong zero, which is a little bit sour, I will acknowledge. It's not as sour as this, but it's sour. I like that. I like my sour beverages. I like my lemon heads. I like my sour candy. but this is way too sour for me. It really is like a warhead. It is puckering type sour every time you take a sip. That's crazy. I've never had a cider like this. I've never had a cider this sour. That's wild. Crazy stuff. I'm not complaining though, it's definitely interesting. And as said, not bad at all. Just way too sour for me. Wow. But, I'm gonna sit back in the spot I was in. Just wanted to stretch my legs just a little bit just because I'm sitting on concrete right now. But, overall, it's a very clean tasting cider. And that's what I'm referring to when I talk about quality. Like, Angry Orchard, in my opinion, is one of the lower quality. That and Bold Rock. I don't like Bold Rock that much. Angry Orchard, and this is controversial. I know there's some really big fans of Angry Orchard out there. I know there's some big fans of Bold Rock. I'm not a big fan of either of them, I will acknowledge. My favorite's got to be Strongbow, Stella Artosis, and I've tried Citizen Cider. That's like a craft cidery up in Vermont, I think. And I quite like their, I think it's the Unified Press, if I remember correctly. That's my favorite cider. Not all of those have a clean taste, but definitely a cleaner taste, in my opinion. A higher quality taste than Angry Orchard and Bold Rock. With the cleanest taste being from the Unified Press from Citizen Cider. But I'm not gonna lie, this kind of low-key has an even cleaner taste than all of them. Like, this is a quality product. But it's so sour, it's crazy. It's so sour. Strong Zero cannot compete with how sour this stuff is. That's crazy. One thing I'm really liking about it, though, is that, I mean, like, hard apple cider a lot of times, and it's one of the things where I try some cider, and it's either, like, too dry, or it's too sweet, or something like that. Like, this isn't, for me, like, too dry or too sweet, it's just too sour. But, honestly, if the sourness was toned down a bit, it would be just about perfect. It would be about, like, I can just imagine what the flavor is like with a little bit less of an intense sourness. And if it did have that less intense sourness, it would be, like, right on my personal preference. I'm not gonna lie. Because it's not overwhelmingly sweet. It's not overwhelmingly dry. It's overwhelmingly sour. But if that sourness was toned down just a little bit, it'd be perfect. Just a little bit, okay, like 50%. Like, tone the sourness down like 50%. But it's good. It's good. And it's giving me a very light buzz. Not too much of a buzz, but a light buzz nonetheless. It's so sour, though. It is so sour. It's crazy levels of sour. Wow. I don't mind it, though, one bit. I am very glad to have tried Japanese hard cider for the first time today. And I think I can determine, based off this one experience at least, take what I say with a grain of salt, I'm trying one cider from one cidery from one area of Japan. But based off this one experience at least, I am personally of the opinion that Japanese hard cider is pretty solid quality stuff, is very clean tasting stuff, and is cider that might be a little bit unique in some ways when compared to cider that I'm used to as an American. Those are my overall impressions of Japanese hard cider initially. There's a boat going by. As we can see, boat going by, and the waves, they are coming. Y'all see those waves? They're coming. They're coming. Those waves, they're about to arrive. They're about to arrive. Here they are. got that throttle stuck up there. He's moving. That diesel, I think that's a diesel motor. He be moving. He's zooming for real, for real. Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. I feel like I got a burp low-key. I feel like I got a burp low-key. Maybe I don't, but I felt like I did. It really is so sour. So sour. So sour. It's crazy. It's too much for me sourness-wise, I will acknowledge. But I'm enjoying it. Even if it's not exactly my personal preference, even if it's a little bit too sour, a lot too sour for me. Clean taste, quality product with a unique flavor. And that's something I like. That's something I like. Now, I really do need to determine what the flavor is actually like. It's really hard to because it's so sour and it's really just overwhelmingly like super insanely intense Granny Smith apple sour. But I want to give you all a good idea of what the flavor is actually like because it's not all sourness, although it is predominantly sourness. So I'm gonna have to do that in a minute. In my opinion, the mouthfeel is very clean. It's not syrupy. It's a very smooth mouthfeel with very small bubbles from the carbonation, and it's not syrupy at all. Very smooth, very clean, not syrupy mouthfeel, with very small bubbles of carbonation kind of popping on your tongue. The mouthfeel overall is very clean and is not syrupy, unlike some hard ciders available in the United States, which is something I really do appreciate, I'll acknowledge. The taste itself is overwhelmingly sour, as said. And it really, to me, comes across like a combination of overwhelmingly sour Granny Smith apple and like Fiji or Fuji apple or something like that. Like really dark red apple. Like it comes across as like a very sour combination of I thought I heard a noise in there. I don't know. But it really comes across to me like a really, I'm getting a buzz as well, I will acknowledge. Even though it's only 5.5%, it's still getting me a buzz. Excuse me. But, there's a burp. That was nice. But yeah, no, the taste, it comes across as being a combination of super sour. Yeah, I would say the flavor comes across as being that of a combination of super sour Granny Smith apple with a little bit of like dark red apple as well, with that sour flavor itself being that of a very citrusy sour flavor with really no apple rind in there. It's just the apple innards itself. And then there's an undertone of a sweet sort of citrusy, almost sort of jazz apple flavor in my personal opinion. And that's very much an undertone that honestly, I don't know if I can taste not on the aftertaste, like when I'm like sipping on it, like I don't know if I can taste that. It's really in the aftertaste is when I notice it. But there is sort of, I'd have to say, yeah, look at that going on, maybe, I don't know. I'm just talking out loud, trying to figure out my way through the flavor and to give you guys a good idea of what the flavor is actually like, but It is very sour, though. It is very sour. And it definitely gets more sour as it warms up. This was, like, slightly colder than room temperature when I took it out of my backpack, because I walked, like, 15 minutes here after getting off the train, and I was on for, like, an hour, and then I sat here for, like, an hour. This has been out of the fridge for, like, 2.5 hours, 3 hours now. So it's warmed up a bit, but it's warmed up even more since I opened it up and actually got it out of my backpack and stuff. But I feel like it would be less sour when it's like really nice and cold right out of the fridge. But like when it's a bit warm, it definitely gets a bit more sour in my personal opinion. But, I'm just trying to think of a good way to describe the taste. It's just so overwhelmingly sour, it's honestly hard. I'm afraid for my piss later. My piss is gonna come out feeling sour. I swear it actually is going to. I swear it's going to. It feels like it's going to, I'm not gonna lie. There's some fish jumping in the river right there. I just saw one fish. There's another one. It's just like jumping in the water, which is crazy. Let me see if I can put my camera like this for a second so y'all can maybe see some fish jump. I don't have my camera set like this normally because one, it's hard to have a position, and two, the lighting is really bad. But of course, now that I've set up my camera like this, no fish want to jump. Jump, fish, jump, come on. Come on, jump, 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 jump. So there were some fish jumping. I'm gonna have to take my word for it because they're not jumping now. There's one back there. Do y'all see that? Oh, there's another one. There's another one. It's like 2 or 3 feet in the air. Another one. They be hella jumping. They be hella jumping. Like these fish be jumping for real. Like, I don't know why they be jumping, but they be jumping. Not gonna lie, y'all. Not gonna lie. They really do be jumping. But yeah, just sitting next to a river in Japan, enjoying a Japanese hard cider. No complaints by behalf, you know what I'm saying? Watching the fish jump, hearing the train go by. It's a vibe. So yeah, I'm gonna try my best to go and describe the flavor of what I'm drinking right now. I'd have to say the flavor of the Japanese hard cider, the Green Neighbors Hard Cider Sour Fuji version that I'm drinking right now, is very much that of an overwhelmingly sour, yet at the same time sweet Granny Smith apple, dark red apple flavor with an undertone of, well, no, I'm gonna restart that. And it's not even like harsh alcohol-wise. In fact, I'm barely noticing there's any alcohol in there. It's super smooth alcohol-wise. Like, compared to any other hard cider I've had, this stuff is so smooth alcohol-wise. Like, no joke, it really tastes like craft apple juice, which is basically what it is. It's just alcoholic apple juice. But like, it's so smooth. It's just so sour. But as the train goes by in the background, but taste-wise, I would have to say it is very much that of an overwhelmingly sour flavor with an undertone of sweetness. And in specific, the flavor of this hard cider is very much that of a, overwhelmingly sour Granny Smith apple and like dark red apple combination flavor. However, in that sourness, There's, of course, a citrusy, fruity taste coming from the combination of the Granny Smith apple and the dark red apple. And there's also some sweetness as well, some very nice appley sweetness. It's just not all sourness, but the sourness is very potent. It's right on your tongue, and it's what really hits you from the carbonation. So overall, I'd have to say the flavor of this cider is that of, an overwhelmingly sour, citrusy, sweet. Granny Smith apple and dark red apple flavor, with an undertone of a sweet citrusiness that is not sour, that almost tastes like jazz apple in my opinion. And that's very much what the flavor of this hard cider is. It's very clean, it's not syrupy, I can barely taste the alcohol, and it's overall a very quality drink. There's, when compared to some more mass market ciders like Stella Artois or Strongbow, there's definitely more depth of flavor in my personal opinion. And overall, even though this is way too sour for my personal preference, I'll acknowledge I don't mind drinking one bit. I'm not minding drinking this today. Even though I make faces like that after I take a sip, I don't mind drinking it. Wow, that's so sour. It's so sour, it's crazy. Holy crap. Woo! That's sour. Wow. Wow. Well, I think I'm gonna take another sip, and then after that, I'm gonna go ahead and grab myself a screenshot for the video, and I'm gonna give you guys my final thoughts, which I've already kind of done, but I want to give you guys my full final thoughts, so I'll do that. Excuse me. Wow, this is sour. This is way more sour than I expected to be, and that has completely thrown me off for this video. I was not planning on this video being almost 40 minutes, but it is. That sourness just completely just threw me off, and it completely threw me off my game, I'll acknowledge. Sometimes stuff like that happens with the flavor of alcohol and other products I try, where the flavor is just so different than I thought it was going to be, or is so good, or is so bad that it completely throws me off, and that's exactly what happened today, I will acknowledge. Let's take the final, very small sip of this cider, and let's grab myself a screenshot, and then go and give you guys my final thoughts on Japanese cider after my initial experience with one. Well, that was the final sip. I'm gonna go and grab myself a screenshot real quick if I possibly can. Just gonna bring up my tripod just a bit, try to get some slightly better lighting, and just go at it like that. I actually have quite a nice buzz, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I'm actually quite buzzed right now, I will acknowledge. Alrighty there, y'all. Hopefully one of those will do as a Alrighty there, y'all. Hopefully one of those will do as a screenshot for the thumbnail of this video? We will find out. I do think without further ado, it's time for me to go and give you guys my final thoughts. So, based off this one experience, at least with this one cider from this one craft cidery in Japan, what are my thoughts on Japanese hard cider? Well, quality, clean tasting, not syrupy, and unique. Those are the 4 main things that really pop into my mind, I will acknowledge. Those are the 4 main things. The cider I tried today was very unique. It's the most sour hard cider I've ever had, by far. I've never had any cider nearly as sour as that, and the only thing I've ever had to compete with that sourness-wise is like Warheads or like Lemon Heads. Crazy sour. Very clean tasting. Very, very, very clean tasting cider that was very smooth, that did not taste like it had alcohol in it, honestly. I'm like, you can tell it's not normal apple juice, but it's super clean tasting, and I barely noticed any alcohol, if any. Honestly, I got no sort of alcohol like from it at all, which is really nice. And that's like even Stella Artosis and stuff, you get a little bit of that. Every cider I've tried, you get a little bit of that, even at the very end. This, on the other hand, I don't know if it was the sourness covering up, but I got none of that. And yeah, very clean tasting, no syrupiness. Really, just very smooth, very clean mouthfeel, and overall just a very clean tasting and unique tasting cider as a whole. Overall, my initial impressions of Japanese hard cider based off this one experience at least, are very positive. I definitely wouldn't mind trying more Japanese hard cider in the future, I will acknowledge, and I wouldn't mind trying a Japanese hard cider that is a little bit more mass market if I can find one. Or at least, maybe not more mass market, but tastes more mass market, where it's a little bit less sour, because that was a bit too much for me. Personally, I would not buy this cider again for $7 or for less than $7. Even, let's say, $2.50, I wouldn't buy this cider again. It's just way too sour for me. I enjoyed drinking it today because it was something new to try, but it's not something I'd really want to buy again. However, tone down the sourness, keep that really clean, nice, unique flavor that has a lot of depth, because that's one of the things this cider had. It had depth. Even though the sour flavor was right at the very top, there was still depth to the rest of it. Like, you could really tell that there was some sweetness going on in the different apples, and I don't know. It felt like there was depth. I'm buzzed right now. It really felt like there was depth, though. Definitely a lot more depth than something like, let's say, Strong Zero. Really felt like, to me at least, a quality beverage. But $7 is way too much for this. It's way too much. I would not buy another one of these ciders for $7. But you get it down to like $3, maybe even $4, and I'll pick up another one of these. Maybe not this exact flavor because it's way too sour, but I'd pick up another one of the Green Neighbors Hard Ciders. Maybe one of their more mass market ones that is a little bit less sour. I'd pick up another one for them. Maybe not for $7. I kind of want to try another one from them for $7 just to see how another one of them is. Honestly, I might see if I can go back to the same place I picked this one up at and try to pick up another one low key that's a bit more mass market tasting. But if they started selling these at like Japanese supermarkets and stuff, $3 a can, even if I had to buy a 6-pack, I'd pay that much. Like straight up, like I would. I'd pay more for this than I would for a 9% Tallboy Strong Zero. Like 350 yen, 400 yen, I'll pay for this. I will. Now, I feel like part of the pricing is like, okay, like we have to price it high because like otherwise people aren't going to take us seriously. So I feel like if they price it lower, they would actually sell less low key. But at the same time, I just hate paying $7 for a 350 milliliter of alcohol, especially when I'm in Japan and I can walk into any 7-Eleven and get a Tallboy 9% Strong Zero for like 220 yen or like $1.50 USD. Yeah. I'd pay $3 to $4 USD for one of these. not $7 though. But overall, I gotta admit, it is, even with the price considered, it is still one of the best hard ciders I've had. It's one of the cleanest hard ciders I've had. One of the most unique tasting hard ciders I've had. And even though the flavor itself is not to my personal preference, it's still very solid, and it's still something I'm very glad that I tried. Overall, my impressions of Japanese hard cider are that there's some solid stuff that I don't mind trying. And I want to try more in the future. I just don't want to pay $7 a can, because it's a lot of money. But I don't mind Japanese hard cider, and I definitely do want to try more in the future, without a doubt. Overall, for me at least, this hard cider is a very solid 3.4 out of 4. Now, usually when it comes to cans or other products that I personally would not buy again, I give a 2, somewhere in the 2 out of 4 range. But honestly, this was so clean tasting, so quality, and really the biggest negative of this was that it was way too sour, and it cost way too much. But it was good, and it deserves the 3.4 out of 4. If it was cheaper and less sour, like, it could have honestly been a 4 out of 4. But a 3.4 out of 4 is what I'm going to be giving the Green Neighbors Hard Cider Sour Fuji Version. That's my rating. My impressions of Japanese hard cider, based off this one experience at least, are quite positive. Hope this video has been informative. I know I have said a lot and said very little at the very same time. Gotten a little bit buzzed, I will acknowledge. But I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video nonetheless. If you guys have enjoyed watching this video, of course, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I have my Instagram, my book, my merch, my website, all in the description down below. Go check it all out. Appreciate y'all watching this video. To the next one, y'all. Stay safe and peace, and have a great one. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying?